What a guan, everybody. What a guan. Happy hump day. We've made it halfway through the week. How's everybody doing tonight? All right. So we got Igwe's daughter in the house. Welcome. Hello, the real she. You're back for more. Hello, positive therapists. Good evening. Hello, Sec Amethyst. Peace. How's everybody doing? Doing well. I said the chat is pretty festive this evening. That is good. So, got one of the strangest stories I've ever heard tonight to go through. That's what you're going to hear. It involves lies on YouTube, milk, broccoli, and weight loss. Yes, weight loss. So, let's get right into it.
All right, guys, what are we talking about today? What exciting, stupid thing do we have going on today on Food Theory? Oh, came prepared. Let's see. Congratulations! This video is so bad. Okay. This video is so bad and full of misinformation. Considering how many wrong things there are in your game and film theory channels, this somehow doesn't surprise me. Oh dear, this took a turn. Thank you for being the creator to finally speak up about food theory. They put out a lot of misinformation on all of their channels. I feel like that's being a bit harsh. I mean, sure, Sans isn't Ness and Hollow Knight isn't the old king, but a lot of information. It feels a bit aggressive. After seeing this, I'm convinced Matt Pat is a shill for the vegan and organic industry. I feel like my affection for McDonald's and my love of steak would disagree, but sure, you do you, friend. You stole this from Brew, similar thumbnail and content, shameful. Oh, geez, now we're stealing thumbnails, apparently. It's gonna be one of those days. Also, for the record, I actually haven't heard of the Brew channel, but I'm absolutely gonna look it up. I personally suggest you take down and or remake a video about this topic again. It would have actually been a good video if you did some sort of research. You know what? Comment, I can actually agree with that one. A good video does do good research, and I would say 99% of the time, I feel pretty darn confident about the research that me and the rest of the team does when we're working on these episodes. That said, you know, sometimes things slip through the cracks, but rarely is it something major enough to take down a whole video. So, you know what? Let's do it. Let's look at this toxic information that we put out into the world.
So, yes, let's do that. Let's look at this toxic information. Fast forwarding to that. Whoops, a little bit too far.
Action wasn't entirely unwarranted.
There are so many videos out there already that say stop drinking dairy, including this one from Food Theory, which is very, very similar in the look of the thumbnail and the content of the video to this one that was from Brew 2 years earlier.
Oh, the subtle suggestion of plagiarism. We are starting off real strong. Here's the thing, regarding the thumbnail, it's a calcium meme. Skeletons, strong bones. We knew that we wanted to riff off of the whole calcium meme thing, and we wanted skeletons holding or drinking milk, and like I said, none of us were actually aware of that other video. I can't expressly prove it, but I was in every thumbnail discussion. Hours of my life wasted, and no one once brought it up, so just coincidence. Great minds think alike. Though, I will say, looking up the Brew channel now, this definitely seems to be a channel that is up my alley. The tagline, solving mysteries one cup at a time. Ooh, I think I found my new favorite YouTube channel for the next month. From that auspicious start, her video is spent responding to common questions that people have about the dairy industry in general, ranging from the environmental sustainability of dairy farms to the environmental impact of dairy alternatives. And I'm not going to go into detail about any of that stuff because it wasn't a focus of our original video. Those are different topics for a different day. I am here specifically to address Anne's concerns to food theory, which honestly only account for around 3.5 minutes of her video's total 20-minute runtime. And a lot of that time is actually spent agreeing with us. For example, Anne mentions the nutritional benefit of calcium for growing kids.
No one is debating do kids need calcium for their bones to grow. In fact, studies have shown that if you don't have enough calcium, you won't grow as tall as if you...
There's something we've all heard as kids growing up. Your parents told you to drink your milk, right?
Have enough calcium.
And yeah, she's right. Nobody's debating this. In fact, we made the exact same observation in our own video.
Well, it turns out that milk does have a few clear-cut benefits. For one, milk has been clinically shown to make children grow taller. Not kidding. It's estimated that if you add an additional serving of milk to a child's diet every single day, they may add a full centimeter to their final adult height.
One of the big points that we focused on in the last milk video we did here on Food Theory is how it's after childhood that consuming milk becomes more complex. And again,
this is true. Some of you may remember when you were young, drink a ton of milk, eat cheese, no problems. You became more of an adult. Gassy issues, perhaps? Bathroom issues, perhaps?
it's something that Anne agrees with. Here is our video.
And a mother's milk, with its complex mixture of nutrients, vitamins, proteins, beneficial bacteria, antibodies, and lymph.
Needless to say, you should always try to breastfeed, right? That goes without saying. But hey, it's considered that a PSA.
Lymphocytes act as a literal power shake for babies. And the thing is, by the time people hit 20, our bodies are designed to no longer produce enough lactase to break down milk.
And here's Anne saying basically the exact same thing.
Now, most people have that enzyme. They make it in their bodies when they're babies because they need to be able to absorb the breast milk that they're being fed. And then as they get older, the amount of that enzyme can decrease. There's only about a third of people in the world who that enzyme doesn't decrease.
Outside of tracking the history of lactose intolerance, the rest of our video was basically dedicated to the advertising practices of the milk industry. How pro-milk ads that are designed to look like public health announcements actually come from private organizations whose funding mostly comes from milk producers.
So the point here, right, is aside from the fact that what he talks about milk, a lot of other companies do this, a lot of other industries in the food industry. This is what you need to be very aware of. You have to pay attention to the ads, look at the ingredients, read the labels. Don't just casually read them. You may say one serving size, but what is one serving size, right? If they tell you one serving size is 50 calories, but that can has like several serving sizes, and you know there's no way you're gonna have like this tiny little amount. Gotta be careful, gotta be careful. You can be tricked and not even realize it.
And our little expose on the milk industry's marketing tactics, which really was the meat and potatoes of that episode, isn't something that Anne disputes. In fact, of our entire 14-minute long episode, the only part that she wound up disagreeing with were 2 sentences right at the very end. A total of 37 words out of a total 2,600 word script. In a paragraph where I briefly review alternative ways of getting calcium, I say this.
Green vegetables like broccoli and kale, more calcium than milk. If you hate green things, just try eating some beans. You know, those fun little round guys that come in burritos and chili, more calcium than milk.
This is the part that she clips out and reacts to, and I'm gonna talk about that in a second, but first, it's worth noting all the stuff around it that she cut out, because here's the rest of the clip.
Tofu, also a primary.
So, you know, this is what's called cherry picking the data, right? When I pull up a study, I try to avoid this. I mean, going in, I have some kind of narrative in my head. So I've found studies that I'm like, wow, it's totally not what I expected. But I read it, I look at it, and if it changes my view, like one of my earlier videos, one of the first videos I ever did, CMOS, I thought going into that, CMOS has got to be nonsense. But after I did the research, I just changed my whole script to, oh, the positives of CMOS. And yeah, there's some negatives, but you got to be honest with the data. But there are a lot of people out there that will cherry pick the data. They will push this narrative that this is good and that is bad, or that is good and this is bad. Got to be careful with that. You have to use your own critical thinking and Google and watching shows like this, right? Got to be careful.
Source of protein and calcium in places in the world where lactose intolerance is high, and it's both cheaper and healthier than milk. You know what else has the nutrients of milk in a pinch? A good calcium supplement and a vitamin D drop from the grocery store or pharmacy.
And these she doesn't dispute because honestly, there's no disputing them. These are better alternatives to drinking a glass of milk, but clipping out the ones that we definitely got right and not acknowledging them makes it seem like our video was irresponsible and full of a bunch of misinformation, when again, none of it was actually the focus of the episode in the first place. But okay, let's just get back to her main point. The stuff about kale, broccoli, and beans. Here's Anne's take.
They say in their video that broccoli and kale have more calcium than milk, and they show a picture of cabbage, not kale.
Yikes, yeah, that's a big oof there. We definitely deserve every hit for that one. It was totally our bad. We even had our resident vegetarian review the episode.
And sense the sarcasm in his voice there.
and even she didn't catch it. It's not an excuse, just slipped through the cracks of everyone watching the episode. But honestly, that visual mistake isn't the main point. It's not why people are calling for the removal of our video. It's the possible misinformation that was contained within that section. So let's actually review that, shall we?
So let's do a comparison. To get that 300 milligrams of calcium that you get in 1 glass of milk, you would need to eat 222 grams of kale. And you might think, that's easy, I eat that much in a day. But I can guarantee if you put that in front of a child, that is a lot of kale to get them to eat, especially if they need more than.
Now, you guys know that saying, they're lies, damn lies, and statistics. This is a perfect example of this, as you will soon see.
1 serve of dairy in a day. That's quite a lot.
Let me interrupt to say that she is definitely right about kids not wanting to eat this amount of kale. As a father of a 3-year-old, he'd sooner eat a Lego than a leafy vegetable. That said, while this provides a powerful visual as like, wow, look at all this kale, it actually condenses down quite nicely into like smoothie form. And then goes on to explain that we're technically correct about kale having more calcium than milk if we're talking about calcium per gram.
Now, technically, gram for gram, this has
Technically, you're correct. So you mean I'm correct? Is that what you're saying?
slightly more calcium.
Haha! Technically correct!
The best kind of correct.
However,
I love that. The best kind of correct.
she then goes on to suggest that rather than comparing a gram of kale to a gram of milk, it would make more sense to compare a single serving of kale to a single serving of milk. And if you do the comparison that way, well, milk comes out on top.
But to say that it has more calcium than milk is a bit deceptive because a serve of kale is not this much kale. If you're looking at serve to serve, milk has a lot more calcium in it.
This is actually a great point to bring up, and it's something that I've been meaning to talk about on the channel for a while now. Talking about food amounts it's complicated to say the least. For instance, say you wanted to compare the number of calories in a glass of milk versus a can of Coca-Cola. Well, let's do what Anne suggested and compare 1 serving size to 1 serving size. After all, it's printed right on the label, so it should be easy enough to do, right? So 1 serving of this 2% milk has 130 calories, while the nutrition label on our can says this can, 1 serving size, has 140 calories. This acidic sugar water is obviously more caloric than milk, right? As you might expect, this is supposed to be really unhealthy for you. But wait a minute, let's look at the numbers again, because here's the thing. The nutrition label for the milk is based on a serving size of 240 milliliters, 1 cup or around 8 fluid ounces. The can of Coke, meanwhile, is based on this single can, 355 milliliters or 12 ounces. Very different. In other words, a regular 12-ounce can of Coke has more calories if you're comparing it to an 8-ounce cup of milk.
Which makes sense, right? But if you do it like to like,
we do some simple arithmetic, we can actually see that if we were comparing 1 cup of each fluid, that would actually come out to the milk having 130 calories, like we knew, and the Coke actually coming out less, 93 calories.
Now, this is the kind of information that makes people fat or gets fat people fatter. They go, wow, look, my cup of Coca-Cola is 93 calories and a glass of milk is 130 calories. Oh, I'm okay drinking Coca-Cola. No, you're not okay drinking Coca-Cola. It's just, what is this? The thing that they use to clean batteries, clean toilets, full with a gazillion grams of sugar? This is what I talk about, lies, damn lies, and statistics, right? Got to be careful of like to like. It's not that simple, not serving size to serving size.
Less than the milk. I do this little comparison not as a means of saying like, oh, Coca-Cola is healthier than milk. Obviously, it's not. It's like acidic sugar water. It's terrible for you. They have vastly different nutritional content.
I love that description, acidic sugar water. I'm going to use that, acidic super water. Hey, Tamika, thanks so much for the super chat. Man, you must have known I was just about to pause the video, right? Because I paused and was like, oh, there's a super chat. Thank you so much. As usual, I appreciate each and every super chat. I know it's your hard-earned money or your parents' hard-earned money or some significant others' hard-earned money. Either way, I appreciate it. Thanks for the super chat. So Tamika says, I knew I was getting old when dairy started ripping up my insides. Recommendations for a quality vitamin D supplement? D vitamins needed to absorb calcium. Yes, I will give you one, and I'll put that in the chat. There's one that I take myself. Can I see it from here? Carlson's vitamin D drops. I'll look it up while we do this, and I'll dump it in the chat. Actually, let's bring it up when I do. Very good question. Let us continue.
I'm just using this to illustrate a point here. One serving is not always the same as one serving. And that's even true when you're comparing identical food products. Case in point, look at the nutritional content for this 20-ounce bottle of Coke. Here, it defines the entire 20-ounce bottle as the single serving, leading to completely different numbers than when we were looking at just the can itself. I could certainly name more examples, but hopefully you see my point here. If you use one serving as the basis for a comparison, it's easy to end up with distorted pictures because serving sizes are just defined inconsistently, especially when you're comparing foods across different food groups like a leafy green vegetable and a beverage. And a lot of times the serving size has more to do with what it's been packaged in than the actual amount of stuff that you're getting. I mean, sure, one serving or a cup of milk has more calcium than one serving or a cup of kale, but the kale has fewer calories. Comparing 1 cup of leafy green vegetable to 1 cup of nutrient-rich liquid isn't exactly a one-to-one comparison either. So for our information, we tried to standardize that comparison as much as possible. And since a gram is a gram is a gram, no matter what you're talking about, we compared a gram of milk to a gram of raw kale and beans, only to find that, yeah, the kale and beans had more calcium per gram than milk. We didn't even try considering serving sizes and portion sizes because, well, we didn't really think to. We didn't think we had to. We were just focused on the cleanest possible comparison. But obviously it takes a lot more kale to make up a single gram, which winds up giving you that big, massive plate of kale like she pulls out in her video.
So if you're looking at serve to serve, milk has a lot more calcium in it than kale.
So, which one of us is right? Well, the answer is both of us. We were just using different systems of measurement. And mind you, these aren't even the only 2 ways to look at the situation. For instance, we could be looking at the amount of calcium per calorie. Would that be a better way of measuring calcium content? This is the sort of thing that comes up all the time when you're asking questions like, how much of ketchup is actually garlic powder? Or how much of this condiment is added sugars? You'll come up with different answers depending on whether you're calculating by the weight, by the volume, or where the calories are actually coming from. Calling this sort of thing an apples to oranges comparison isn't doing it any sort of justice because we're literally just comparing a food to itself. And we're just using different modes of measure. And if all of that wasn't complicated enough already, you have the added layer of bioavailability to consider. Now, I've mentioned this before during is a shill for the vegan and organic.
Now, we've not spoken about bioavailability on the channel before. And of course, while I struggle stream and accidentally start back up the video. Hilarious. But bioavailability is pretty important. This is one of the reasons why you don't want to go cheap on your supplements, right? You get that stupid cheap crap at Wally World or the pharmacy that will last you all year for like $15 or $20. The bioavailability is going to be more than likely very crappy, right? So you don't want to do that at all. Bioavailability is very important. Similarly for the food items, right? It's one of the reasons why when you eat junk food, it doesn't keep you full very long. Right? Your body needs nutrients, and when it doesn't get it, it's going to make you hungry again to go seek it, right? You can't just keep eating junk rather.
That wasn't complicated enough already, you have the added layer of bioavailability to consider. Now, I've mentioned this before during our spinach episode, but the long and short of it is that just because a food contains a certain amount of nutrient doesn't necessarily mean that your body is able to use all of that nutrient. Case in point, spinach absolutely packed with iron, but studies show that in some cases you're only getting about 2% of that able to be absorbed into the body.
Bet you didn't know that. I bet you didn't know that.
A pittance compared to what you'd actually get from other foods like, say, steak or even dark chocolate.
Yay for steak and yay for dark chocolate.
Which have it in a form that's much more bioavailable. So even when we have what seems to be like a perfect one-to-one comparison, 1 milligram of iron is not the same thing as 1 milligram of iron depending on the food source. And likewise, 1 milligram of calcium is not the same as 1 milligram of calcium. So, since neither Anne nor I explicitly talked about this in our respective episodes, let's do it now, shall we? According to Dr. Connie Weaver, professor of food and nutrition at Purdue University, who literally wrote the book on calcium and human health, I have a digital copy of it, so I'm pretending to hold a physical copy of it. Can we just After Effects this in? Awesome, thanks editors. Now let's After Effects it off because I'm done introducing it. Great, there it goes. Our bodies can absorb about 32% of the calcium inside of milk, whereas calcium inside of vegetables is gonna vary wildly. Worst case scenario, we're talking about spinach, which continues to get dunked on in our episodes because only about 5% of that calcium is bioavailable. But for other brassica vegetables, the family that includes kale and broccoli, that number is actually significantly higher than milk. Broccoli, for instance, can get as high as 60%. That is nearly twice the amount that you're going to be getting out of milk. And that makes
Bet you didn't know that. Broccoli could be that potent for calcium in your bones.
all the difference in the world when you're comparing the calcium in both of these.
I don't even know how they thought that broccoli had more calcium than milk because it doesn't even gram for gram. I'm not sure.
Lies, damn lies, and statistics, right? Gram per gram. It doesn't, but who cares? If you can't absorb it, does not matter. Does not matter. If you can't absorb it, it does not matter.
Doesn't matter what you think.
No, it just doesn't matter what you think. I'm sorry.
Where they got that from.
Since you asked, let's actually get to where that information came from. According to the University of California, San Francisco Medical Center, 1 cup of milk has 300 milligrams of calcium, just like Anne points out in her video. While the same amount of cooked broccoli has 180 milligrams of calcium, which at first blush would seem to support what Anne is saying. Milk has more calcium than broccoli. However, let's now apply the numbers that we brought up when discussing Dr. Connie Weaver's calcium research. Of the calcium that's produced in both of these, 108 milligrams of calcium would be coming into your body from the broccoli, while you would only be able to absorb 96 milligrams of calcium.
Ooh, and the broccoli crushes the milk. The vegans and vegetarians must be ecstatic.
From the milk. So the broccoli ultimately wins out per serving. Another reason we might have actually come to different conclusions here is that we might just be looking at different sources, which is why I'm trying to be specific about where our numbers are coming from. The numbers from the USDA website actually are different, but they're talking about raw broccoli instead of cooked. In my research, I also discovered that the reported calcium level for broccoli tended to vary based on the source that you were looking at, and one reason for that, I suspect, is that the nutritional content varies based on whether you're talking about the florets, the very top, versus the stalk or the stems. So yeah, I don't think that we were wrong in this case. Even if we do as Anne suggests and compare 1 serving of broccoli to 1 serving of milk, looking at the amount of calcium that our bodies can actually absorb from each of these food sources ultimately means that broccoli beats milk, even if Anne is technically correct about milk having more calcium in it. Now,
You are technically correct. The best kind of correct.
I don't bring any of this up to say that Anne was wrong on a particular point. Like I said, she is technically correct, just like she said I was technically correct about the gram for gram stuff.
The best kind of correct.
But I think all of this illustrates an important point. When it comes to nutrition and food science, it is really hard to tell the full story. Even bioavailability can change based on the foods that you're eating together as part of a meal. If you mix citrus in with spinach, it's a whole new ball game. Even directly comparing food labels doesn't paint you the full picture because our bodies just process different foods in different ways.
It's another example why it's good to have a well-balanced diet. Things that tend to be extreme, while it can work, you got to be really careful, right? If you eat vegetables, you eat carbs, regular carbs, you eat meat, you're bound to get everything, right? Because when you just eat just one thing, while it can work, you got to be really careful. You're going to do this carnivore thing, you got to be careful. You want to do vegan, got to be careful. They can work, but you got everything just right. I eat veggies, I eat meat, I eat sweet potatoes. I get a lot of stuff. I'm covered, very well covered, very well covered.
The TLDR of this whole video is this. On food theory and across all the theory channels, I and the rest of the team do our research. We do a lot of research, and I hope that this episode has shown you a little bit of that. And so when people say that we don't do our research, we take that very seriously. And in doing that research, we do our best to find a balance. We try to make sure that we're giving you information that is true to the best of our knowledge, but also useful. I always do my best to include the facts that I think are going to paint the full picture for the narrative, but also there are just limits in how thorough we can be in any given video. Case in point, look at what we're doing right now. We're wrapping up a 20-minute response video responding to a 3.5-minute segment from another channel that in turn was reacting to a 20-second clip of our original video.
Man, the lengths you got to go to defend yourself on the internet. Wow, that's crazy. 20 minutes to defend 20 seconds.
I mean, that 20-second clip of offhanded comments has suddenly ballooned into this 20-minute spectacular full of nutritional science and food labeling. If we went one Inception level deeper, I'd be like, I don't know, it'd be like doing a 90-minute dissertation on bioavailability, which something tells me no one is gonna have the patience for. So, am I taking down that original video? No, I don't think we need to. Did I lie to you or purposely misrepresent information? No. Would it have been better for me to compare serving sizes like Anne suggested rather than weight? You know, I don't know. I'm still not sure on that one. But will these sorts of things happen again? Yeah, honestly, most likely.
So there you have it. I'm really curious to know what you guys in the chat think about that. I'm going to drop the link again. Hey, thanks, Skincare Do's and Don'ts, for the super chat. Denada, you're most welcome. You're most welcome. Okay, let's see. And we do have... Who else we got? Welcomes Needs Watches. Needs Watches actually backstage waiting to come on. Hello again, Tamika. So Needs Watches, I'm going to bring you up. Hey, good evening. How's it going?
It is going well. Can you hear me?
I can hear you loud and clear.
Wonderful, wonderful. Yeah, no, it's going good. So this was it when he was talking about bioavailability. Today is the first time I've heard that term.
Okay.
And I think I get what it's supposed to be.
Yeah.
Do you have like a little 5-second like explanation?
Yeah, basically, yes, essentially it's how much the percentage of something that you ingest that your body can actually utilize.
Gotcha,
and this is why certain supplements are actually a total waste of money. For example, if you buy glutathione, which is a good antioxidant in a tablet form, total waste of money. You might as well take your cash and just light it on fire versus wasting the time to even go to the store or click that buy button online. It's that's useless. Crazy. Yeah, it's totally useless. You'll have to get glutathione through like an injection, IV, things like that, like one of those clinics. Then it actually works. The science is pretty clear on this. It's incredible. But just taking it in tablet form, totally useless. You know, there's practically none of it is going to, your body's just not going to be able to utilize it. So what they gave a good example was with spinach, because spinach is a superfood. I eat it every day. But what he's pointing out is specifically, for example, iron or calcium, it's not great for that. It's great for other things like potassium, etc., etc. And as it stands out, broccoli, another superfood, is fantastic for calcium. And this is why it's good to eat a wide variety of things, to eat real food, not fake food, you know, because the human body is so complicated and science still doesn't know everything.
Yeah, no, 100%. I agree with that. And I, in the chat, Igwe's daughter. So I told you last time I was on, I think that I started up with Factor with the meal prep. Just because, I don't know, whenever I used to do meal prep, I would prep too many of the same thing. And then by the time like Friday came around,
you're tired of it.
I was just tired of it. And this stuff is pretty good. And I won't do a whole plug on it. But it's funny because this meal that I just had broccoli and I think zucchini.
Okay.
You know, just whole chicken, just, all real food.
Yes.
And it's funny, like the past 2 days, I can feel the carb craving like in my stomach.
Okay.
It's so weird. Like it's not a pain, right?
Yeah.
But it's like this dull feeling of like, hey, I'm missing something.
Yeah.
But I'm full.
Okay.
Like, I can tell that I'm full. And I'm like, okay, this is crunch time. Don't eat anything. Don't go get some bread.
Right.
Just chill, because I've been using my Fitness Pal and logging everything.
Okay.
And keep it under around 2,000, a little lower than 2,000 right now, which is suggested right now.
Gotcha.
And yesterday I wasn't feeling that hot. Today I feel great. Woke up, slept well, woke up, wasn't tired. And keto I've been able to do before, and the same thing happened. Like after like the third day, I felt like trash.
Right.
But then, so I think I can keep this up because especially like the food is actually very varied.
Yeah.
Other programs I've tried or have, they're kind of all the same thing all the time.
Okay.
But this has been really good and really flavorful. Like they actually season their meat. That's like the biggest part. Like most of these places, man, it's like dry chicken.
Yeah, dry. Yeah, it tastes terrible.
Yeah, it's like,
I know what you mean.
Eating MREs in the army or something.
Yeah,
it's just like, oh.
Yeah,
So, no, it's been good.
No. When I remember, what's it called? My Fitness Food, I think, is My Fitness Foods. Yeah, My Fitness Foods. When I lost the 65 pounds, that's the first time I ate vegetables, really, because it was these prepared foods because I couldn't cook and it was a mess. And I started because I wanted to get healthier, change, blah, blah, blah. And I was like, all right, let me buy these things. Somebody made it. And that was the gateway
right.
cooking and eating vegetables and eating healthier, so to speak. So I know exactly what you mean. One thing you want to be, so if you're going keto, right? I'm not sure if you saw my keto videos some weeks back.
Probably not. I don't go
Probably
look
not.
at them though.
Yeah, definitely. Because again, every diet works. So the science is clear on that. I did a video that talked about that. It doesn't matter what the diet is. Statistically, they all do about the same, right? So whatever diet you choose to do, make sure it is so like a year from now, you want to be able to do it. Optimal.
Correct.
You want to be able to sustainable. You can socialize, live your normal life. If it's a special diet, as it's special for you, then eventually you'll quit, feel frustrated, then you'll go off the rails and mess everything up, basically. So yeah. No. I'm glad that is working for you for sure. And sometimes when you feel the carb cravings, it literally is a carb craving. So one thing I will say, it depends. If you're just say keto is great for just losing weight. If you're trying to do body recomposition now, that is burn fat and build muscle, stuff like that, keto is not optimal for that at all. Okay. You do need carbs for that. Because I would remember this. Yeah, go ahead.
Oh, I'm sorry to interrupt you.
No.
So not having, I guess what I should say, like the program, like the foods that they're giving me have very low carb. Right. But I'm not like completely cutting out.
Okay, so you're not.
I'm just trying to eat better food.
I got you. Yeah, so you inevitably eat less carbs. Yeah, because usually we eat too much
Right. yeah, and I know carbs are I already know that's my issue. Like,
so do you know roughly how many grams of carbs per day are you eating?
If I think I have to look at my app.
Yeah.
Hold on. I know there'd be a little bit of silence on the stream, but
no. That is fine. That is fine. What they're supposed to say on radio, no dead air.
Right.
I need some special effect sounds to play.
How do I go to yesterday? Because that one's actually done.
Yeah, there's nutrition, top, and there should be an hour to switch back to yesterday.
I got it. So yesterday.
If you scroll to the bottom, there should be like a summary type tab down there. Well, it depends whether you got an Android or an iPhone, but it's always at the bottom.
Yeah. I'm scrolling down, or maybe property. Nope. Sorry. Yeah, sorry for the dead air.
No. That is fine.
I'm just going to where's lunch dinner. Oh, okay. I guess I have to hit complete.
Yeah,
I forgot about that.
Do you have an iPhone or Android?
iPhone. I got it. Here's nutrition. Okay. Yep. So between under 100, but between like looks like 50 and 70. Okay, so that's, I know keto's.
That's definitely low carb. Keto, you're usually below 50 grams.
Right.
Around like 30 or something like that. So make sure you have enough carbs to fuel your workout, because the potential downside, look at it this way. If you're consciously aware of this, then it shouldn't be a problem. Mm-hmm. If you find yourself getting strong sugar cravings, like more than usual, let's say, it could be because your carbs are low. So for example, when I had carbs low, I go in the supermarket and those grapes just look so delicious. Or I just have cravings to drink something sweet. And when I found that, I was like, ding, 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 ding. I remember just putting them together. I was like, wow, on days that my carbs are really low, that next day or two, I'm more want to devour cherries, or well, not cherries. I devour them regardless, but more like devour grapes or something.
Got it.
But if you're feeling your usual self, then nothing to concern yourself about. And
I appreciate that.
Yeah, as your activity level goes up, if you start riding longer or harder, you'll just eat more naturally. Your body will just make you eat more.
That definitely has started to happen. But the meals are less. Well, one, they're less carb dense, but they're less calories in general.
Yeah.
And because it's mostly protein, like,
which is satiating.
Yeah, it's definitely different, and that's my. Hopefully, you don't hear that in the background. It's my dogs doing that thing when they like run in their sleep or whatever. So I'll drop off in a second. But just for anyone who is interested in it, there's like a coupon code. Like if you just search Factor coupon code, they're running like $125 off of the first 5 boxes. So if anyone's interested in that, or I have one of those too. If you want to hit me up on Instagram or whatever, I can shoot it over to whoever's interested, so they can save some money if they want to try it.
And I'm gonna go on a business trip again, so people are traveling more and more nowadays. I think I'm gonna have to look into something like that, because that's what I was doing before when I made my transformation. If I'd have these 1 week trips, the food, say I was getting there the Monday, the food would arrive at the hotel the Sunday or the Monday evening. And it just be ready to go, because I didn't want to fall off the wagon because I'm traveling for work or what have you. Because so for those of you who travel for work, these things are even more critical, because you just need 1 week of eating out every day.
Yeah,
because you're living out of a hotel, and 5 pounds later, you're like, damn it, this is like a month. You just undid a month, 2 months worth of work in 1 week.
It's crazy.
Very frustrating. Through no fault of your own. You had to eat, right? And you're limited to the restaurants in the area, blah, blah, blah. So
And one last thing, this is something you said maybe 2 episodes ago, but you were talking about how because you're eating before and after you're working out, you don't have the same muscle soreness.
Yes.
I took your advice. I did a pretty heavy back and chest set. Well, back mostly. And the next morning, like I felt it a little bit. But nowhere near what I would normally for what I did. Nice. So I've been picking up on the tips and trying to actually incorporate some of that. So I definitely appreciate the channel. This is amazing.
Okay, thanks. I'm glad that positive feedback, that is very motivational to me, because sometimes this may sound weird, I try to, some of these things is like trying to explain sex to a virgin. You can tell them there's this great thing called sex, but you got to do all these things to get it. And somebody may be like, man, that's a lot of work, man. I don't know. I'm not sure if it's worth it. But if they got it, they'd be like, oh man, this thing is so incredible. I should have done it a long time ago. Or for those old enough to remember, I don't know, black and white TV or non-HD TV. I remember years ago when they were so expensive, I'm like, no way I could spend thousands of dollars for an HD TV. That's crazy. And then I went in a Best Buy or something and accidentally saw one. I was like, wow. So it's the same with this, like, what big a deal can it be if I eat food around the workout? What difference can that make? I mean, eating the food anyway.
Huge difference. I couldn't believe it, honestly. And like you said, it was very protein dense.
Yes.
And I also ordered some shakes too, just to help with that for when it's like, I don't feel like eating chicken right now.
Exactly. Get the numbers up there. Yes. Man.
No, appreciate it.
That protein. No, I'm so happy for you, man. Keep doing it. And the good thing, it's fun for you.
Right.
So you're far less likely to quit. Once it's fun, then it's not work. And if it's not work, you're definitely winning.
So everyone in the chat in 6 months.
Yes. Nice.
We'll see y'all.
Yes.
It'll be a little different.
Needs Watches. Check out his channel, Needs Watches. Very, very smooth operator over there. Whether you're into watches or not, his shows are very entertaining. Very entertaining. So, all right, man. Have a wonderful evening. Thanks for calling in.
Later.
All right, that was Needs Watches. Really, really nice guy. And his channel, like I said, is pretty entertaining. You'll learn new things about watches as well. Let's see what else we got going on in the chat. Oh, I missed the super chat, of course. Thanks for the super chat, Positive Therapist. The key is to remember people are going to sell outrageous ideas like the ones you have showcased today. It's very important to research and read the labels. Yes, very important. The thing is to be in fairness to the other lady, I don't think I don't really know, to be honest, but that person has a big channel, and her channel is about finding the nonsense out there. So from what it looks like, she's usually, doing good work, pointing out nonsensical things. But Food Theorists, from what I could see, is not nonsensical. So that's why they made a reaction video off of her reaction video. But, I thought it was a good way to, in an entertaining way, point out how little subtle things. One thing for me to preach or to lecture about food labels, reading the labels, but you can see subtle things, right? Like it was a brilliant example with the Coca-Cola can and the milk. You can easily, somebody can easily be misled. They just take this thing and go, oh, wow, this, got my kombucha here. What is this? 2 servings per container, right? 7 carbs, 6 grams of sugar. Tastes fantastic. Now, if it says 2 serving sizes, I never drink half of this. I always drink the full thing. So I really can't go by the serving size. For all practical purposes, this is 14 grams. Now imagine if it was 30 grams per serving. I was just making something up, right? Then when you do double, that's 60. It's like when I go to the movies, one of my favorite cheat meals are Raisinets. Love Raisinets, right? I acknowledge that that's not good, ton of calories, but I kind of plan to do that, right? Going out, it's going to be like a cheat meal, quote unquote. But if you don't pay attention to those box of Raisinets, you may go, oh, box of Raisinets, some popcorn, a hot dog or whatever. Next thing you know, you're having a 2,000 calorie movie night, right? Or 3,000, depending on how crazy you go. Got to read those labels. Got to read those labels, man. Can be, and the serving size thing is no joke. It's very subtle. Okay, these people are smart, They spend millions of dollars on marketing research. You're going to see this in another video I want to do. And the legal departments will do subtle wording. So, for example, something can have a label, and it says, we comply 100% of this thing, but that thing is like the minimal level. There are like 5 more levels, right? So you're thinking, oh, this thing is super healthy, right? No, you're getting tricked big time. Big time. And you don't even know it, right? You don't even know it. I've been tricked like this before, right? So you got to be careful and just trust certain brands. Certain brands, once I figured it out, nonsense, I just don't trust them anymore, right? And these are big name brands as well. They're not little. Let's see what else we got going on here in the chat. You would also say, how great it is to have a platform to adequately read your detractors to the filth. YouTube has really given folks a means to clear the air and stuff. This is so true. So true. Skincare do's and don'ts. I didn't know that about dark chocolate. Yeah. Dark chocolate can be pretty healthy. It doesn't taste bad either. Actually, it can taste fantastic. Highly recommend Swiss dark chocolate. I was not a fan of dark chocolate till I had chocolate in Switzerland. I distinctly remember thinking, yeah, whatever. Got a free sample. One of these chocolatiers, these was a street full of them, open since, I don't know, 1800 or 1700 and something. And it tastes so good, my eyes literally closed. I was like, bought a ton of the stuff after that. Went crazy on the dark chocolate. Hey, Sec Amethyst, if it fits your macros, yes. If it fits your macros, yes. Just again, input it in your MyFitnessPal. Make sure you're not going overboard on your numbers, right? You can pretty much eat anything and look good if you hit your macros if you want, but you do want to look good, in my opinion, and be healthy. So don't just eat anything and hit your numbers. There are people out there who can look fantastic eating a ton of Chick-fil-A. But again, I'm not sure Chick-fil-A is the healthiest. Hell, they can even look good eating McDonald's, right? Because they're just hitting their macros. As to whether that's healthy long-term or not, I seriously doubt it. Seriously doubt that. All right. I think I've covered everything in the chat. I'm going to drop the link one more time in case anybody wants to call in. So, hey, to the weightlifting geek. I missed you earlier. Welcome to the show as well. Cool. Well, hopefully you guys found it very entertaining as well as educational. Our next show will be a bit more saucy, spicy. Revisiting a person we did a couple of weeks back. Actually, it was my very first live stream, ironically. Very first live stream. So, laters, my massive. Me go long now. For those who don't speak Jamaican patois, that is goodbye, my people. Have a good night.